Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah. We are back together to continue with Surah Yusuf alayhi salam. We are in the ayah number 36. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَدَخَلَ مَعَهُ السِّجْنَ فَتَيَانِ. And with him two young people entered jail. دخل الواو حرف عطف. The waw in the Arabic language is a letter of sequence. Something happened and then this happened, like it is related to each other. So what is the sequence about? يعني عطف على ماذا? Allah is talking about the two people who entered the sijn, which means الواو في العطف is saying عطف على ما قبله. What's ما قبله? That Yusuf entered prison. So the letter waw by itself is telling you that Yusuf now is already in the jail. Based on, if you recall what we had spoken before, that they came down how they want to wrap the problem, how they want to blame the weak link in that, how they want to make sure that this matter does not go in public, because the woman is the wife of Al-Aziz, who is like either a wazir with the king or someone else with a very heavy weight in the community. Frame him, La Yusuf, put the blame on him, and then what? Put him in prison and let people forget about it. Although the Aziz himself and the family member of the woman both saw and testified and came down to the conclusion that it was her the one at fault. But من بعد ما رأوا الآيات لا يسجنونه, that they said, okay, let us put him in prison. This is easy to wrap it up and remove the blame over someone that we know. وَدَخَلَ مَعَهُ السِّجْنَ فَتَيَانِ. Now Yusuf entering prison, before Yusuf being thrown in the well. And this is all part of God's plan. If you bring someone who have never gone through hardships, who have never felt mistreated or looked down at or abused, and you give him a post where he is to be in charge of other people, he's not going to understand their challenges of abuse and mistreatment and on. So part of the plan for Allah to give Yusuf a post as Al-Aziz later on, that he's going to be in the jail himself, not for a week or a month or a year, but 1 year after another, either another, God knows how many years at that time was, until he can see what dhulm could do to people. So when he is in the post of ruling, he's not going to implement dhulm on others. So not all the time hardships is a bad thing. I'm not saying that everyone who took a leadership role without being mazlum al-abl that he will do a bad job, no. But I'm saying part of what could be a good outcome of a hardship a person can be going through is that when he is in a post of leadership authority, he will recall these moments, how he felt alone, how he felt being mistreated. So then the whole nation is under him later on. He's going to be considering people's issues and not being, judgmental in a way that he's going to be abusing his community or his citizens under him. So entering a sijn for Yusuf was part of the plan of God. And this is, as Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah used to say, yani, what do my enemy do with me if they put me in prison? Sijni khalwati. When they put me in jail, this is the free time to focus on myself, to be genuine with myself, to purify myself, because there is no one to show off for. You're vulnerable. نحن هلا we're all busy about what? Okay, my son's wedding is next week. Okay, in the family, in the community, who was the one singing? Who was the one, the limousine that took him? So we want to beat them in that. We want to bring something. Your whole life is tafakhur, as Allah said in the Quran Kareem, to show off. So instead of being deceiving yourselves and other about things just to show off, sometimes being in jail, being in hardships, make you self-evaluate yourself. And that will always be something good as an outcome. It makes you a better person, inshallah ta'ala. وَدَخَلَ مَعَهُ السِّجْنَ فَتَيَانِ فتيان, al-fata, the young man, the young adult. And fata, also we spoke before that they were both also slaves. That they were both also what? Slaves. And Yusuf was some sort of, although he was given a place in the house of Al-Aziz, but he was seen as a slave. He was sold. So it seems they were relevant with him in age, and they were relevant in him that their background was slavery. Now, from the description of what they dreamt about, one of them, it seems, used to be al-khabbaz for the king, the baker. And one of them used to want to, serve the wine for the king. And with this in mind, there is a narration that says, not in our text, but mainly from the people of the book, part of the plan to cover up for what had happened with Al-Aziz and his wife, they framed for these two individuals a false accusation that they were trying to poison the king. What do you want to do if there is something that is people are gossiping with? في عندك مشكلة, create a distraction. People are focusing on this. Like, someone was hit by a car and there's 20 people, oh, look at him. Then if there's an explosion on the side, then who's going to look at a car accident? Everyone's going to go look at what? At the explosion. So it might make sense that with the issue that happened with the wife of Al-Aziz, the narration says that the king wanted to what? Distract people from gossiping and talking about this. He said, there is mu'amara lal-itaha bil-malik. There is a plan to kill the king. These two people wanted to poison the king. So everyone attention now, the king is being attacked. So people will let go what? The gossip about the Aziz and his wife and what had happened with them. Everything is planned. الدevil people كلهم يشتغلوا هيك. هلا حتى الدول countries do that. From countries to countries, small or large countries, people do it on a way. Even sometimes you could do it in an evil intention, you could do it in a good intention. كيف يعني your child is, let us say, is having pain because of illness or sickness, or he has high fever. So you try to bring his attention to something what? More interesting, to make him forget what? The hardship that he's going through. So it really depends on the intention behind it, the value that you are trying to bring. But when you are trying to hide the truth, when you are trying to cause people harm, of course, it's going to be haram. وَدَخَلَ مَعَهُ السِّجْنَ فَتَيَانِ So two people entered prison with him. قال أحدهما إني أراني أعصر خمرا So one of them said, I am serving wine in a dream. Few points on this matter. Allah started with the one serving wine, so he would be the one that will go back live and will tell the king about Yusuf's ability to interpret what? The dream. So he will be the reason for Yusuf to get out from the prison. That's one. Number two, the term arani is in the present tense, فعل المضارع. It's not in the past tense. And here's 2 points. The first point, when Yusuf said his dream to his father, شو قال? إني أرى عفوا إني رأيت, I saw. He used the past tense. But over here, the people are saying they are, grown up. At that time, when Yusuf saw the dream, he was a young boy. Why Yusuf said it in the past tense, إني رأيت, and why here in the visual, this young man is saying إني أراني? Because for a child, seeing a dream is not a big deal for him. He saw a dream. Probably he might have forgot. Then he remembered, oh, Dad, I saw a dream. But for someone in prison, there is nothing happening around him. Basically, anything that happens with you is interesting. It's like, something to talk about. And if someone is in the prison, what's the only hope he can hold on to? Dreams. يحلم. Like, he wants to think. And know something is going to happen to him. Something's going to make it easy on him. So for an adult to have a dream, he is more serious about it because he feels it has a true relativity to his status. And here we're not just talking about young adults, we're talking about young adults who are in prison. And then any prisoner would always pay attention to a dream more than anyone else. And if you see a dream and then you wake up, wallah, it was a dream, maybe you'll tell it to your wife, to your husband, to your kids, and then you move on. But someone who is in the prison and he saw a dream is going to be talking about it what? Day and night, because that's the only thing in front of him. That's his TV, that's his, at that time there was nothing like that. So that's the discussion. That was the chatting happening at the time of what? Of the prison for Sayyidina Yusuf and these two individuals. So دخل معه السجن فتيان, two people entered with him. And قال أحدهما, interestingly that Allah wanted these two individuals to what? To see dreams. Which tells you how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is running the show. A dream made the brothers of Yusuf plan against him. A dream by two individuals made the reason for Yusuf to get out from what? From the prison. شوف ربنا كيف بيشتغل. And then a dream for the Malik made Yusuf Aziz Masr. This is the importance of dreams and the life of prophets for them, because it's a revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And dreams are important to us. Sometimes you see a dream, you wake up positive or feeling good. Sometimes it might be freaking you out. So it is an important part in our life. So, why did they tell Yusuf about their dreams? Yani, was it the only 3 people in prison? We doubt. There might have been more. But why they chose Yusuf to tell him about their dreams? Because of what they saw from him, alayhi salam. That they saw a practice, an attitude, a lifestyle, even in prison, that defined what is later on called inna naraka minna ish al-muhsinin. That we see you among the people of ihsan, perfection, excellence. So this trust, although there wasn't much ethics in the life of the people at that time, because there was a lot of dhulm, but people by their fitrah, by their natural inclination and composition, they always can identify what's good versus what's bad. So what they saw from Yusuf's lifestyle in the prison, wasuluku, made them land on the idea that he is a trusted person. We share with him our dreams so he can tell us about it. This is the point. So what that made them to tell Yusuf, they saw him min al-muhsinin, which later on we'll come to it in the ayah. And the discussion started, and it used to be said that it was also an introduction to what Yusuf's status is in the community at that time. We know that in the life of the prophets and messengers, when Allah wants to send them to a people to prove their prophethood, He would support them with miracles that will prevail in the lifestyle of people that are living in. Right? Yani Sayyidina Isa, what was his miracle? To bring people back from death, right? It was known at that time that people were very famous in medicine. Sayyidina Musa, at his time, it was Fir'aun and Sahara, right? So the miracle of Sayyidina Musa was what? عَصَى تَلْقَفُ مَا يَأْفِكُونَ. You know, the stick changing into the snake. Sayyidina Salih alayhi salam lived with people in rocks, mountains, jbal. So the miracle was what? A camel, Jamal, jumping out from a dead rock. When we know the story later on that Al-Malik was dreaming and asking, it was as if interpreting dreams at that time was a big thing. الظاهر كان له شغل كبير موضوع تفسير الأحلام in that community. And people looked up to scholars who are identified as people of knowledge, that they are able to do what? Interpret dream. So the entrance of Yusuf to the community as a prophet later on, wow, he made an interpretation first to the people who were with him in the prison that got him out from the prison, and next the interpretation was the highest level in the whole community, the king himself, and in both time it came true in 3 interpretations. For the one who was serving the wine, for the one who had the bird, eating from the bread over his head, and for the king with the 7 baqarat or 7, cows. So this was some sort of introductory approach by the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Yusuf to enter on the people that he is a respected person that could be a prophet. This is very important as an introduction to that. Inni arani, as we said, it is fi'l al-mudari', that something that is present, they're interested about it, they want to talk about it, in that matter. Now, you say fil Arabi, ra'a means what? Saw, شاف, صح? عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. Inshallah ta'ala. So you'll see in the Arabic language ra'a, which means to visually see something. But how do you write it? Ra'a with alif ma'sura. Ar-ru'ya, the visual, with ta, what? Marbuta. But when you say ar-ru'ya for a dream, how do you write it? With ta marbuta or alif? You write it with an alif. The visual sighting, ar-ru'ya, comes with ta marbuta, right? But the what do you call it? The dream ru'ya comes with an alif, because the visual eyesighting is limited, so it came marbuta. Look at the beauty of the language. And the dreams have no what? Have no limits. You can dream anything. So it came with an alif, as if it's open. هذا من جمال اللغة. That when Allah, when speaking about a visual رؤية بصرية, it comes with a ta marbuta, limited. But when you're talking about ru'ya and means of dreams, but dreams, you could dream until you're flying in the sky. You could dream you enter the president of USA. You could dream whatever you want to dream. So this is the difference between ar-ru'ya al-basariya with the ta marbuta, limited, versus Allah using ar-ru'ya in Arabic language, of course, with an alif, another value of the use of the language. إني أراني أعصر خمرا. Al-khamr could be made from too many, you could make khamra from barley, you could make khamra from rice, you could make khamra from dates. But most likely, when you talk a'siru, you're talking about what? Inab, grapes. And when you squeeze the grapes, it's not khamra yet, right? It's grape juice. But because most of the people who will squeeze the inab is an intention of later on to be what? Wine. So it was given as if it is khamra already, while it might not be khamra yet. It takes 7 days. If you squeeze grapes and you put it in a normal temperature, that's when the transformation chemical happens, and then it transforms into grape juice, into what? Into a real wine. And a'siru khamra means that's what was intended for it. That's what was the intention for it. وقال الآخر, the other one said, إني أراني أحمل فوق رأسي خبزا تأكل الطير منه. I see that I am carrying, it's a practice. A lot of people, الفرانين عنا في لبنان, or maybe in Egypt, the same thing. بيجيبوا هدول, like whenever you bring the bread and you stack it over your head, like you put sometimes khashab or something, and you carry it. So this person saw himself in the practice of what? Bakers, or part of, لأنه dream also is part of your own personal lives. It always has to do with your own personal life. For that one was a baker, for his dream came throughout the context of what? Khibz wa khibz. And that one used to serve wine, for the dream came in the context of what? squeezing the grapes. So it has this relativity in between them. وقال الآخر إني أراني أحمل فوق رأسي خبزا تأكل الطير منه. الطير is a plural of طائر. If there's one عصفور, you say طائر. If there's plural, there's what? طير in the plural model. And khubz has this relativity too. What the baker was doing and his dream and the interpretation of Yusuf alayhi salam would be also another introduction that later on the plan that he saved Egypt and the area about it was in al-qamh and in the hubub that he was saving for them. Everything is connected. So even the dream about this person, it was part also a hint of what would be used later on by Yusuf alayhi salam, his plan of how to save al-hubub, part of it mainly qamh, wheat or barley, that will be the reason for the people of Egypt to be what? To be saved. Not just the people of Egypt, but the people around it. The question came from both, نبئنا بتأويله إنا نراك من المحسنين. We said before, حكينا من أول, أن التفسير is interpretation. It could be right, it could be wrong. التأويل most likely you land on the truth. التأويل مطابقة الأمر للواقع. When you say أول الشيء بمعنى he made an explanation that's exactly how things are. فسر الشيء he وضحه بطريقة like his point of view. It could be proper, it could be not the proper one. Now نبئنا tell us, it's based on the trust as we said in the beginning. بتأويله with this interpretation, because they are interested to know exactly how these dreams will affect them. Yani you're not gonna come to someone only with trust, you're gonna come to someone with knowledge. So when he tells you about his interpretation, you're gonna expect these symbols that you're gonna see in your dream are most likely are gonna come true by the interpretation of that individual. Yani no one is gonna come and present to you a ru'ya, a dream, and then you're gonna give him false interpretation. Why would it come to you? His interest is to hear exactly what will be a true. People like the future. People talk about everything's about the future. Your moment is just a bridge to the future. So in that perspective, they were very interested to know the reality, the true outcome of this dream. Now, regardless of how tough they want to take it, because that's where they want to asking for. Even if one of the dreams meant death for the second person. نبئنا بتأويله إنا نراك من المحسنين. We see and we judge upon what we see that you are part of the people of Ihsan. And that's what you need to focus on. How you conduct yourself, سلوكك في المجتمع, in the community, with your family, that's what people identify you with. And al-ihsan is excellence. So part of the excellence that you want to take from people, testimonials for you, has to be, and actually there's no way else but, it has to be how you conduct yourself. So even in the limited space of the prison, they were able to pull out the identity of Yusuf, that he is from what? From Al-Muhsinin. And then Yusuf alayhi salam said, قال لا يأتيكما طعام ترزقانه. Yusuf said, never a plate of food that will be served to you in this prison, إلا نبأتكما بتأويله, but I am able to tell you about it. Now most of the scholars, they say that Yusuf would be able to tell them, is it full today, wala adas, wala majrush, wala whatever. Yani some other scholars say it is not appropriate or proper to interpret these things for people. They look at another wisdom out from this example that Yusuf alayhi salam. The example that they're looking for is, or the wisdom that they are looking for is, that the timing for someone in prison is based on what? Mainly food, meals. يعني at that time they didn't have watches ولا في clocks. It's about, are they under? There is no windows. So timing is important, and the most important thing out of the day that happens in the life of a prisoner becomes what? Food. So the interpretation of Yusuf about food is really not just about what type of meal they're getting for today, if it was, beans, or if it was barley, whatever. It was mainly about the most important thing that's happening to you, I am able to touch on it and relate to it. I am being chosen by God as a prophet in that matter. And it is relative to the most important thing that is in their livelihood, in the prison. And some people say, it is in relation to the pay attention to the food. Sometimes they used to execute and kill people in prisons by poisoning them. So everyone who would go to prison would fear for his life. And that an easy way to say they got sick and to put poison for them on a daily basis, small doses, big doses, and then, wallah, they got sick and they died. And now you are in prison, who's going to care about you? Now, the third point is that at-ta'am is also rizq. Yani, even if you are in a prison and this small amount of food that's coming to you, it's part of the rizq that Allah had brought you. So Yusuf, according to some scholars, that he's telling them the details about what they're eating. I don't lean to this point of view, but more he's leaning to, I am in touch and aware to the most important things in your life. I am with you, I care about you, because he's going to invite them to da'wah later on. So he needs to build a relationship. Alayhi salam. إِلَّا نَبَّأْتُكُمَا بِتَأْوِيلِهِ قَبْلَ أَن يَأْتِيَكُمَا. But I am able. And here, he is introducing himself, alayhi salam, to what are his qualifications. And there is nothing haram in that. There's an article, I just wrote it in the newsletter for the masjid. Read it on your way out. Self-confidence, not arrogance. You can have self-confidence in yourself, but you cannot be arrogant. Self-confidence, when someone questions your credentials and you know you have the credentials, say, no, I am able to do that. Yani don't challenge me in something that I have and I obtained. So Yusuf, even later on, قال اجعلني على خزائن الأرض إني حفيظ عليم. He told the king, put me the treasurer. I can manage that. So he introduced himself, alayhi salam, and the qualifications that he is able to deliver on. And here, alayhi salam, إلا نبأتكما بتأويله. I am able to tell you the details about. So the point is, he is introducing himself and his qualifications. Later on, he's going to be a prophet introduced to the community. Not just that, it doesn't make any sense or importance if he told them right, and it has to be before, as to be interesting. Before it comes to you, I can tell you what it is, or the relativity to it. The second point that could be also relevant to this, that he's not going to be late on responding to their needs. And he's going to be not ignoring them. لأنه السجين يعني متعلق في حبال الهوز مثل ما بيقول. And if he is to be a prophet, and people are going to come to him with their issues, and they're going to find someone who is turning his face away or not paying attention to him, they will lose interest in him. But for him to respond to these dreams and saying, if there is food is going to come, I'm going to be able to elaborate on that, touch on that, it means I am ready to be around you, serving you in the needs that are important to you. But then how did he do that? He said, إِلَّا نَبَّأْتُكُمَا بِتَأْوِيلِهِ قَبْلَ أَن يَأْتِيَكُمَا. Did he say, I am the knowledgeable? I am the one who is, superpower? I am the one who is able to pull this? He said, no. ذَلِكُمَا مِمَّا عَلَّمَنِي رَبِّي. He related the matter to God. It's not self-education. It's not, even if someone wants to obtain a degree or whatever, and you put effort, you still have to relate everything to what? To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا بِكُم مِّن نِعْمَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. Everything of a ni'mah that you are in is from Allah, no one else subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yusuf alayhi salam, in this particular moment, this is what God had taught me. And this is also not kihana wala irafa, it's not being a sorcerer wala dream teller. It's all because of God. And this is also an introduction to what's going to come later on. That he is going to invite them to Tawheed. And this is exactly what he said in the ayah after that, or in the part of the ayah after that. إِنِّي تَرَكْتُ مِلَّةَ قَوْمٍ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ كَافِرُونَ. That I stepped out from a community of people who are not believers in Allah. If it was the people of the Hyksos, people who were ruling Egypt at that part, the northern part of Egypt, we agreed that at that time it was not under al-Fara'ina. Don't forget that. At that time, Egypt was not ruled by al-Fara'ina. Fara'ina used to be from the Copts as a race in the southern part of Egypt. They were ruled by the Hyksos who were from Syria area, from Mutawassit, the Mediterranean to the east. And this is how these people under the kings were not believers. They were not people of faith. فَإِنِّي تَرَكْتُ, I have let go. وَتَرَكَ الشَّيْء, to let go something with the ability to take it. تَرَكَ الشَّيء, يعني أنت قادر تاخد شيء بس تركته. You let go of it. So this is something that when a lot of people picked up being a pagan or idol worshipper or whatever you want to call it, he has let go that thing. إني تركت ملة يعني دين. الملة يعني إيش؟ الدين. What people practice, what people identify themselves with. قوم, people لا يؤمنون بالله وهم بالآخرة هم كافرون. That they're not just believers in God, that they don't believe in God. Part of the package that they reject that which is of what? Of the day of judgment. The next ayah goes explaining more. So I stepped out from kufr and I'm landing on tawheed. لا إله إلا الله. فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله. First you have to identify al-kufr, then you have to hold on to the tawheed. واتبعت ملة آبائي إبراهيم وإسحاق ويعقوب ما كان لنا أن نشرك بالله من شيء ذلك من فضل الله علينا وعلى الناس ولكن أكثر الناس لا يشكرون. So here he is saying that I have let go Here he is saying that I have let go the people who have been before, worshipping idols, etc., 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 and I followed. So this is a millah versus millah, a deen versus deen. تركت ملة واتبعت ملة. See the contracts here? This is the deen, the style of life for the people who are pagans, idol worshippers, they don't believe in God. But yet there is another deen, another group, another people, another way of life of abai, my parents, my grandfathers. And who is his direct father? Min Abu la Sayyidina Yusuf? Yaqub. But he started with whom? Ibrahim. You go with the honorary one. بلش من جدك أو جد جدك. So when he listed his parents, his grandfathers, he didn't say واتبعت ملة آبائي يعقوب وإسحاق وإبراهيم. بلش من عند إبراهيم عليه السلام. Because he is the father of the prophets جميعا, and of course from أولو العزم من الأنبياء عليهم السلام أجمعين. واتبعت ملة آبائي إبراهيم وإسحاق ويعقوب. All these parents of mine, grandfathers of mine, ancestors of mine, they matched me. They were in harmony with me on what? Worshipping Allah and in a matter of tawheed. ما كان لنا أن نشرك بالله من شيء. It is not possible. It is not imaginable for people like Ibrahim and Yaqub and Ishaq and Yusuf and all the prophets to have anything that has to do with shirk wal-iyadhu billah. Yani these are the most people that are, and when you relate, people talk about their parents, what they did. Wallah, my father used to do this. My grandfather, بلش ناس تفخر بأباها. نحن العرب بنحب الحكي هذا. أنا جدي كان بالزمانات وأنا أبي كان بالزمانات. في الإسلام we are taught that the only thing you want to relate honor with is توحيد ودين. If it matches something value in Islam, speak of it. If it's about fakhr and showing off, then drop it. Don't even mention it. Don't even, bring it to attention. واتبعت ملة آبائي إبراهيم وإسحاق ويعقوب ما كان لنا أن نشرك بالله من شيء. We would never have anything to do with shirk. We are calling people for tawheed, which means that you have to demonstrate that role model too. You cannot call people to something and you do yourself, you don't do it. يا واعظ النفس عما أنت فاعلها, as Imam al-Shafi'i used to say. O one who is advising people on things that you are doing. يا من يعد عليه العمر بالنفس. Remember that your breath is counted on you. تبغي النجاة ولم تسلك طريقتها إن السفينة لا تجري على اليبس. You want to go to safety and you're not following the track. How could you accept and understand that a ship would go on a dry land? إن السفينة لا تجري على اليبس. I forgot the lines. Anyway, how could you address the quote of role model and then you are, كحامل لثياب الناس تغسلها وثوبك غارق في الرجس والنجس. You are going to wash people's clothes and your own clothes are dirty. Go wash yourself first. فهير, if they want to call people for tawheed, ما كان لنا أن نشرك بالله, then we have to demonstrate that ourselves. And if you want to call people for salah, you have to pray. I mean, if father, مثل الأب, ابني ما تدخن هو بيدخن. Like the father smokes and he's telling his son, don't smoke. How could you do that? Mama, you are failing your case from the beginning. You have to demonstrate the role model. And even after that, hopefully, maybe they'll pick it up or not, God knows. And then he said, for all my grandfathers and myself to land on the tawheed is what? ذلك من فضل الله علينا وعلى الناس. على الناس اللي اتبعونا. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given us for those people and for the people who have followed us. ولكن أكثر الناس لا يشكرون. But in reality, when you compare the people of piety, gratefulness, graciousness to Allah, to the people who are ignoring Allah and His ni'am, most people are ignoring Allah's ni'am in that. ولكن أكثر الناس what? لا يشكرون.